Hi, I'm Richard Peterson.
And I'm Christy Peterson.
And welcome back to our YouTube channel,
Fulfill the Game of Life.
We are a couple that have successfully reached financial freedom. We're able to walk away from our corporate jobs, and we're about to set a path of world exploration.
As we announced last week, we are in the process of getting our visas to Portugal, and we're about to set sail to a distant shore. And we're so excited to have all of you on this journey with us.
So, as with the usual YouTube video, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you'll know when our information comes out, and give us a thumbs up.
Thank you so much to everyone who watched our first video. You're awesome. And you've taken the first step towards reaching financial freedom. What we are going to do is take some of our viewer data from the first video and modify the content a little bit and the length to fit your life.
Yeah, so some of the early indicators on the first viewers of our channel, about 25% of the people watched the video in its entirety. On the average though, people only watched about 5.5 minutes worth of an almost 20-minute video. And so we kept watching the data come in, and we continue to reflect on what's a better way to make sure that we get our message across to as many people as possible. So we think there are probably two groups of people watching our videos.
So there's the first group, and those are the folks that are sure that they want to retire early and they're willing to invest the time each week. And then there's group two. They're not so sold on the idea, and they probably think that early retirement isn't really that attainable, and they've skipped through the video and just have moved on to TikTok to watch those kitten videos.
So our plan is to do this. We're going to record the full-length video just as we talked about, and then we're going to try to edit it down to about 5 to 7 minutes. And then we're probably going to go ahead and knock it down all the way to 2 minutes. We're just going to put the bullet points on the screen.
Yes, this is going to take some extra work on our part, but our goal really is to help as many people as possible. And even if you don't think you need the help, or you just don't have the time for the details.
So let's get ready to take our first step along the path. As we mentioned in our first video, step one is visualizing retirement so that you'll continue to use it to prioritize your decisions as you move forward.
If you can motivate yourself to make better financial decisions with an end goal in mind, you will reach retirement early.
So look, let's start off being realistic with each other. We have to set expectations. What does retirement mean? And we've talked to you a little bit about what we see retirement is. But we have to say, it doesn't mean retiring rich. But even using the word rich can be a little bit confusing. If you're picturing retirement as a 100-foot yacht with a 50-bedroom mansion and a 20-car garage full of cars, we're not going to be able to help you get there. We didn't figure that one out for ourselves.
What we have figured out is how to start with nothing and end with enough income from investments to cover our daily needs. Basically, we have figured out a path to financial freedom.
So I think it's important to repeat exactly what you just heard, because fundamentally, this is essentially the goal, right? We have to, and you have to, find a way to earn enough income from investments to cover your daily needs. That is essentially the definition of financial freedom.
So your ultimate goal is very simple. Earn enough money to cover your basic needs.
So look, we're going to introduce you to the thing most people really don't like, but we're going to keep it simple. There's an equation that we need here, and we're going to put it on the screen for you. And it's pretty simple. Your income must be greater than or equal to your expenses.
If you're creative, bold, and adventurous, what might first sound like a pipe dream is actually incredibly attainable and is a lot more reasonable than probably living in your own hometown.
Absolutely. So, as we shared before, our adventure is going to start in Portugal, and you might be curious to say, why Portugal? Well, as you're soon going to become very aware, the United States is actually one of the most expensive places to live on the entire planet. And if we go back to our equation, where income has to be greater than your expenses, the lower we drop our expenses, the less income we need to reach financial independence.
And as Richard said, living and working our daily lives, as Americans, we really don't realize that we pay the highest prices on the planet.
We're close to the highest prices on the planet for sure.
Yeah.
We'll spend a minute actually looking at some cost of living data. As you can see, I tripped across this website. I found it really informative and trying to understand overall cost of living in different countries around the world. And of course, you can start with the United States, 72.47 as a cost of living index. Some of the things they look at in the metrics here, rent index, grocery index, restaurant prices, those things. So you can start off looking, obviously in the country we live in, is at 72.47, and you just look up to our neighbors to the north in Canada. There's about a 10% reduction in cost of living to live in Canada, and it's almost half the cost to live in Mexico. Almost all of South America is somewhere, if not half, it's even less than half of the cost to live in the United States. And some of the more appealing countries that people do retire to, Costa Rica, 54.2 compared to the United States of 72.47. So again, just in general, your dollar goes much further outside of the United States. Now, there are a few places you can go and experience that it's going to go the opposite way. Norway, Iceland, extremely high. You can see Switzerland here, right in the dead center of Europe, is very high compared to the United States. France, though, is right in line with the United States, and then dropping to a neighboring country, interestingly, very much like Mexico and the United States, the cost of living drops by a third from country to country. But as we talked about before, we're looking at Portugal, which drops even further, 49.52 compared to 72.47. Now, there are exchange rate issues. The United States dollar is weak compared to the euro. With the continuous money printing, it continues to hover at around 1.18. So it's an 18%. If you brought a dollar over to Europe, you're going to lose about 18% of the value. But considering that you're gaining 40% reduction, 30%, 35% reduction between standard cost of living, you're still 30% cost of living decrease to move to Portugal. And Spain, frankly, than to stay in the United States. It is curious as well. If you want to spend time in India, it's a 70% reduction cost of living. One of the places we're probably going to visit as well is Morocco's right across the peninsula, and you can see it's a very inexpensive place to live there. Japan is not an expensive place, and Australia is pretty much in line with the United States. But as a general rule, you can see we do indeed live on one of the most expensive places on the planet to live, with just a few exceptions. So if you do have dollars being generated without having to go to work every day, spending those dollars in a place that is just a much lower cost of living.
As we continue our channel, we will make videos that show the actual cost of living in Portugal and the lifestyle we will experience. And we acknowledge that the cost of living is not the only thing to consider. And we've all watched all those scary movies about going international and staying in the hostels. And so we all know that we want to be safe going abroad. So that's another thing to consider. There's the medical care. There's a lot of information about the medical care in these other countries that are honestly quite better than what is provided in the US, or lack thereof that's provided in the US. So those are the things that we'll talk about, the roads, infrastructure, the schools, there's quite a few different things that we'll include in our videos.
So, it's a little bit hard to really see the standard of life and standard of living without being there. And we'll soon be there, and we'll start publishing as much of that as we can so people can get a really good feel. But we're going to scroll some pictures by of Portugal. I'm going to pull up some maps here and let you see what we see, at least with the electronic media, without actually being there. It's beautiful. It looks like it's going to be full of adventure. Safety statistics, as we'll walk a little bit later, safety statistics are significantly better than the United States. The cost of living is better than the United States. As Christy mentioned, the medical structure that's in place in Portugal is light years ahead of what we have to deal with in the United States, especially. This is a real consideration. If you walk away from employment and you have to walk away from the medical coverage that comes from work, there are real risks in the United States of the way that that's covered.
As Richard just, touched on quite a few of these topics, in future videos, we are going to show you some significant studies on safety, healthcare, and general standard of living. But for now, what we're going to do is take a step back from where we're going to how we got here.
Okay, so the magic number. What is the magic number? Well, we got to tell you a little bit of a story, of course, before we can give you what the magic number is when it comes to early retirement. I do want to walk a little bit of my history again. We'll try not to do this so much in the future, but understand my mindset. Even as a young man, I knew I didn't want to work my entire life. My goal is always to retire at 55. I'm 50 today. Managed to beat it by 5 years. Fortunately for me, as I had worked my way through my career, I was naturally a saver as it was. I didn't really feel the need for name brands and expensive brand new cars and those things like that, which is just kind of naturally helped. But now that I look back on it, I can see the impacts of those decisions, that I was a little bit fortunate to just kind of my natural character, who I was, to be able to reap the benefits of just kind of being naturally frugal. During most, definitely by the time I hit 30, I was really aware of my finances. I knew where my money was. I knew how much I was making. I knew how much I was spending. Probably by mid-30s, I was really heavy into understanding how to invest. Yes, we've all heard of the stock market. It's all over the radio today. It's all over television. But how many people have ever actually bought their own stock? Well, I had to learn that, right? Had to work my way through that. But here's an interesting part of life, and you should stop and reflect on this, because this is essentially the way your life works over and over. You work for an entire week. Some people work 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and you simply don't have the time to think about progressing your own retirement and your own future. What you think about are the emails and what do you have due today, or what studies or essays you got to write for college, and it consumes you. And by the time you make it to the weekend, not only are you tired, you have bills to pay, you have grass to cut, you've got repairs around your house. Just life kind of in general, it consumes you. So you simply very rarely find the time, and I think this is what these videos are for. If you can find 20 minutes and let us think for you and with you to help you progress through it. But the bottom line is life consumes you. Life takes 40, 50, 60 hours of your waking hours. You come home, you eat, you watch a little bit of television, you do your chores, and you go to bed and you start back over.
And I was like most mothers, just busy trying to get ahead in my career and raising a child and cooking and cleaning and a little bit of downtime, or trying to find some downtime. So when you get busy with the daily grind, of life, your career, you don't really think about taking the time to think about your financial future. Maybe some people do, but for most, it's possible that you just get caught up in life and you forget about thinking to take the time to make a list of how you're going to get there, how you're going to be financially free, and understand the steps that are going to get you there.
Let's get to what the magic number is. But you can't hear it yet without my story. So I got to give you this, right? Again, I was really aware of my finances, my investments, or my returns, and the decisions I was making. As far back as 3 or 4 years ago, I would actually use business travel. I would sit on the airplane and I would start going through my portfolio. So I knew where the funds were and how much I had and what the income was. But the epiphany, the moment that everything changed for me in the way that I think it's when I look back at it, it's so fundamental in the thought process that when you see it, you may just say, duh. But I'll tell you, I spent my whole, most of my adult life following my finances, and the duh never hit me. And when it did hit me, though, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And this is what I think is the step that people need to start picturing a different future. And here it goes. It actually, ironically, happened on vacation. Just last year, Christy and I were on vacation. It was I think our second vacation without the children. And of course, that gives you a little bit more downtime, right? So you're not taking the children around and wondering what they're doing. And so we're sitting in the hotel room. I had taken my Fire Stick and was watching YouTube videos. And the video that YouTube suggested for me was a family called Our Rich Journey, or their channel is called Our Rich Journey. And I really would suggest that you go watch them. Their circumstance may be a little bit more similar to your circumstance than ours. We're obviously close to 50 years old. All of the children are adults. We're no longer, financially responsible for children, but these guys are. So a little more detail on them. Go watch their videos. I would suggest, number one. But here's where they are. They're a couple. They're in their mid to late 30s. They have 2 children. They were at least on the videos, they were from San Francisco, and they had made a couple of good real estate investments. And I'm not really sure why they felt the freedom, their whole background, their family, why leaving the United States was in their plans, but they did it, and they went to Portugal. And here's where my whole life changed. And I'm going to put a link to their video. But the cost of living in Portugal, when you see the videos of Portugal, but the cost of living in Portugal, 2 adults, 2 children, so a family of 4 in Portugal, was about $3,500 a month. Now, you pause for a minute and think, well, that's probably not that much different than what you're paying right now for a family of 4, but here's the difference. I think it was somewhere around $1,000 for a private school. So now all of a sudden you have a family of 4, you're paying rent, you have medical coverage, you have adventures continuously for about $2,500 a month. And then you take 2 people off the top of that, and we're looking at each other like, well, you know what? I don't eat that much. It'd be hard to spend that much money. So you're legitimately looking in the country of Portugal, in Europe, in driving distance from almost endless things to do for probably $2,000 a month for both of us. So that was the magic number. That's where your eyes open. So pause for a moment and start thinking, well, what would it take to make $2,000 a month and be completely financially free? But look, let's be a little bit more conservative, and we're going to consistently stick with a number as we make future videos. And we're probably going to stick with $2,500 a month. that would be able to put in airfare for a couple of trips back to the United States, probably, maybe bringing family over. But $2,500 a month is what we're going to kind of model almost everything we do as we walk you guys through that. So now you're asking yourself, back to the original equation, well, my expenses must be less than or equal to my income. Well, we only need $2,500 a month to live a really good life in Portugal. And as we've mentioned before, and we're going to show you, that number actually goes down as you go to Asia or you go to Central America and South America, and then the $2,500 a month turns into $1,500 a month. So, anything going through your mind now? Here's the first question. If you owned your house, if you just paid off your house and you rented your house, how much would you get? Well, I would venture a guess, most of you guys, minimum $1,000 a month. Let's say you get $1,200 a month. Well, you're already halfway to retirement. If you need $2,500 a month and you could rent your own house, if you owned it outright for $1,200 a month, you're halfway there. So as we're starting, as we'll walk these examples for you, you'll be shocked. Once you've got the magic number, and the magic number is, what is my lifestyle I want to live, and what is the real monthly cost? Getting from where you're at today and getting there is going to be your challenge. But now you can see it. There it is. It's staring you in the face.
So as Richard went through all the numbers and crunching the numbers, it was like so exciting to realize that, okay, retiring at 55 and you can suddenly bring that in a whole lot sooner, that was exciting.
Yeah, so if you know me and you've been around me for a while, you know I do everything with math. But I tell you, coming back from vacation, I spent the entire drive in my mind picturing my income and picturing that number. I just needed $2,500 a month. So as I got back from vacation, I literally spent probably as much as 30 or 40 hours just generating a retirement model so I could walk my finances every single month, compare it to the magic number, $2,500 a month. These were my income sources. This is how much money I had saved, $2,500 a month. In the next couple of videos, I'm going to introduce you to the tool. My numbers will be a little bit different, obviously, than yours, but the thought process is there, and then everything just kind of explodes, just as Christy said.
And once you look at the information that Richard gives you, I hope that you find as much excitement and at the idea of retiring early.
Okay, so look, you can definitely feel our excitement because the numbers are real. They're really obvious, right? So we're going to break down what those numbers are. We're obviously going to do this when we're in Portugal, and we're going to show you. This is what it really cost us to live there. This is what it cost us to eat. This is what it costs to go to the movies or go to the gym.
Or buy makeup.
Or buy makeup or whatever. We're going to show what it really costs so you really get an idea. But this is what you should be picturing. If you're 23 years old and you're looking at this, you should be saying, well, I just need to make $2,500 a month. How do I make $2,500 a month? Those are the ideas that get you along the path for early retirement. But it all starts with the magic number. What is it really going to cost me to live every single month? So the next set of questions are personal. They're going to turn to you, and this is going to be our next few videos. Well, what is your currently monthly cost? What does it cost you to live? What does it cost you to drive? What does it cost you on your credit cards? What is it going to cost you over here? It would be a pretty interesting exercise when you sit down over the weekend. After you listen to this and you sit down with your wife over the week, what is it costing you every month to live the life you currently live? What decisions led you there? And how would you do them different, if at all? And what decisions will you make in the future? That's the path we're going to walk together. But just walk away with a magic number. The magic number, $2,500 a month, leads to a fantastic lifestyle. And if you want to live an extravagant lifestyle, $3,500 a month. You have to find $3,500 a month.
So once Richard started explaining the finances to me and how easy it was going to be with our current situation, we agreed on our end destination, which was Portugal. And then there was trying to understand how are we going to get there. So I'll be creating a series of videos on the steps, the questions we asked ourselves. How are we going to get there? Can we use our visa with what's going on with the pandemic? A lot of the processes and regulations changed. So in those videos, I'll go through that so that you can share in the vision of retiring early.
You know, it was even a little more fundamental to us than that. I mean, we've traveled, but we've always traveled only on vacation. So we didn't even know how long you could travel to Portugal just with your passport.
Which is only 90 days. You can only stay abroad for 90 days with your U.S. passport.
And then it was very clear after that is if you're over there for 90 days, you have to come back over here for 90 days. Now, of course, you could go to a different country, but going from country to country every 90 days, maybe it was even a little stressful for us. So it was, no, that's probably not our best path. We need to be a little bit more stable than that.
Mm-hmm. So we're logging off for now. We'll let you get back to what you were doing before. With our trip just around the corner, we are working feverishly, which is an understatement, to try and get everything ready for us to go. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Thank you for staying this long, and make sure you subscribe as well.